Am I the a-hole and it's by user OK Disaster, 1788? Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law that she made her choice when she chose to keep seeing my husband's ex? I, 33 female, and my husband Tom, 35 male, have been no contact with most of his family for 3 years. Within those 3 years, I've had twin boys, which has made my mother-in-law try to get back in contact with me. There's a lot of history, but here's a brief summary of why Tom and I are no contact, and it all revolves around Tom's ex, who we'll call Talia. So I am Indian American and Tom is white. He comes from a pretty traditional family and grew up in a small town. Talia was mother-in-law's best friend's daughter, and they were the small-town romance everybody envied. However, upon meeting in college, Tom and I just clicked on a platonic level. And to be honest, I didn't even have feelings for Tom until 4 dates in. I guess you could say he had an emotional affair, but he never did anything physically romantic until he broke up with Talia. Talia, of course, remained in contact with his family since she had been, according to mother-in-law, the daughter she always wanted. Keep in mind, Tommy has a sister, but Talia is more of a homemaker, while my sister-in-law, who is an absolute angel, and I had always been more career-focused. Talia had been at every holiday, family gathering, and get-together since the very start of the relationship, and at first I paid no mind to it. I was civil to Talia because mother-in-law made it clear Talia mattered to her. Despite Talia's blatant distaste and disrespectful attitude towards me, that changed at my weddings. We had 2, and my parents footed the bill for both. The dress code was simple. Aside from the obvious no white or wedding party colors rule, nobody was supposed to wear red. I am well aware that red means you slept with the groom, but more importantly, red is a bridal color in my culture. I wore a red lehenga and sari to my Indian wedding, which she wore an eggshell of white dress to. Keep in mind, white is worn at funerals to represent purity in my culture. That got my aunties talking, but I still had a blast since I really didn't care. I did care when she showed up to the American ceremony in a floor-length apple red gown with a slit going up the leg. It was a bridesmaid's dress and it violated the dress code. My sister-in-law, along with Tom, went to tell her to change. She did leave after having a hushed argument and came back in a tea-length green gown. I assume she just wanted to see if she could get away with it. Apparently, my auntie saw this too, which meant Talia was subjected to stares, whispers, and backhanded giggle fits throughout my whole American wedding. It made Talia feel embarrassed, and she cried to mother-in-law, who went to me and told me to keep my kind in line. To this, I crossed my arms and told her that maybe Talia should have stayed in her lane, that she knew not to wear red for multiple, but mostly cultural reasons. And it wasn't my fault my family is shaming her. It isn't my fault she became canon, fodder for my gossiping gaggle of a family. Yes, I chose those words since that is what my aunties are. Those were the consequences of her actions. Tom and sister-in-law backed me up, and mother-in-law left with Talia before dessert. The next day, there was a social media post from Talia, crying about how she was exiled from her best friend's wedding because the bride was jealous. I made a post back telling her that she wore red, knowing how inappropriate it was, how her best friend is her ex, and to not sugarcoat what she did. I then tagged my mother-in-law in a separate post with screenshots of Talia's post and told her this was the last straw and that I have been disrespected by Talia from the very beginning of my relationship, and that now that I was her daughter-in-law, she needed to keep Talia away from family events and holidays since she doesn't respect my husband and I. I didn't care if they still went on weekly shopping sprees or spa days, just keep her away from Christmas and barbecues. Talia removed her post after being publicly called out. Mother-in-law was good on this compromise until 3 years ago after Talia came to Thanksgiving with a pie and a plastered smile, a Thanksgiving that I was hosting. She said something along the lines of, "Mother-in-law invited me and I wanted to make sure mother-in-law can actually eat something since I know you tend to cook ethnic food." I slammed the door in her face, went over to mother-in-law and told her she could leave with Talia, who I just slammed the door on. Tom looked at his mom, who had this deer-in-the-headlights look. She tried to sputter excuses, and my father-in-law tried to defend my mother-in-law, but Tom stood firm. He said they had lost access to him and any extension of him since they chose Talia. My in-laws, aside from my sister-in-law, left and we haven't spoken since. Fast forward to last week. I got a text from an unknown number and it was mother-in-law. She said she saw a picture of my boys from a mutual friend's post and wanted to reconcile. She said she'd keep Talia away this time and that ever since she got cut off, she's been in minimal contact with Talia anyway. Her Facebook begs to differ. I told her as much, saying I knew BS when I smelt it, and she made her choice. I told Tom about it and asked if he missed his family. He shrugged, saying he doesn't care, and it's been relieving not having his mom around. He's the youngest son of 3, so he was always the baby boy. But I have since received texts from my brothers-in-law, their wives, and my father-in-law begging for a second chance. She always wanted to be a grandma, and I do feel like I'm robbing her of a chance. Her other sons haven't had children yet, and sister-in-law cut her off when we did. But you can't undo nearly a decade of disrespect with wishes and wants, and Talia is still in the picture. So I'm skeptical about how long that promise will last. I feel like I'm being calloused, but there are so many stories I can tell about Talia's disregard for Tom's boundaries and mine. And I don't want to welcome a storm into my house by opening the gates. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law she made her choice after she kept my husband's ex around? No, Opie. You're not the a-hole. Not even close. Your mother-in-law made her choice again and again. She prioritized your husband's ex, who disrespected you and your culture over building a real relationship with you. You gave her grace. You set boundaries and even compromised. And she trampled all of it. And let's be honest, this isn't about robbing anyone of grandma time. If she wanted that relationship, she'd have shown up for you when it mattered. Not with empty apologies and backpedaling now that there are babies involved. She didn't choose Talia by accident. She chose her on purpose repeatedly, even after being told exactly what the consequences would be. So when you told her you made your choice, you weren't being calloused. You were simply confirming the outcome she created. You're protecting your children's and your husband's peace. You're not holding a grudge. You're honoring your boundaries. What do you guys think? Update. Okay, so first off, thanks to everybody who supported me on my first post. I just wanted to clarify a few things, since I was in hysterics when I wrote the original post and worded some things weirdly. First off, Tom didn't cheat on me. The timeline goes as followed. Tom and Talia were originally forced to hang out since childhood, and Talia developed a crush. The two got together in 7th grade. Tom left for college and met me. We hung out just platonic and had stuff in common. More stuff in common than Talia and he. He went home and broke things off with her. He asked me the following week, and it took 4 dates before I actually started to view him as a serious potential partner. See, no interlap of relationships, no affair, no reason for all those comments saying I was an a-hole for being the other woman. Also, thanks for the people who defended me against these people. And before anybody says, you're being awfully defensive, you must have cheated. I'm defensive because I view adultery as a crime nobody can come back from. In my culture, adultery is very common. I believe studies showed 55% of married Indians have committed it, and so it is a sensitive subject. Also, to clarify, Talia is the one who wore the white dress to the Indian wedding and attempted to wear the red dress to the American wedding. I know a few people were confused on that too. So now on to the update. We remained no contact with mother-in-law. After receiving a few more messages from that number, Tom and I formulated a reply that was along the lines of this. Dear mother-in-law, you have repeatedly showed you don't care about Tom and I's feelings regarding multiple things. I'm so sorry if our relationship broke apart that fantasy you had with Talia being your daughter-in-law, but the fact is it wasn't going to happen. Talia has been a constant thorn in our relationship. Both you and her have been passive-aggressive, rude, oblivious, and snide in your remarks and actions towards us. You said you would refuse to come to the weddings if Talia was not invited, which you knew would make Tom look bad to my elders, who, unlike you, have since accepted him as one of our own. You allowed Talia to berate me, comment about me, joke about me, and if I ever tried to joke back, you would say, "That's not nice. She was just joking." Funny how jokes were pretty one way in that house. You made it very clear that Talia is the daughter you always wanted. Hence why sister-in-law cut contact when we did. The only reason your sons stay is because they know if they leave, then you'll die with no kids to mourn you since you nitpick their wives now that I'm no longer around to be the scapegoat. I have screenshots of everything between you and Talia. and texts from the both of you mocking ones and threatening ones. If you try come after me for grandparents' rights, I will get my attorney and I will make sure you keep your racist ass away from my family. With all due respect, please leave us alone. You were fine not talking to us before we had kids. Maybe Talia can finally move on and give you grandkids. Sincerely, the OP's family. I then blocked their numbers and set all my socials to private. Tom did as well, and we have talked to family about going private and unfriending people who may have ties to mother-in-law or Talia. Things have been quiet since then. I know Talia has seen the post since she screenshot the post and sent it to Tom via one of those apps you can get a spare number through. He sent a few laughing emojis before telling her he knows about the post and blocking her. Tom has always had my back like this. Even if Talia was in the picture, he and sister-in-law would do little things to show we were a united front. I know a lot of people gave Tom flack in the last post for not standing up for me, but keeping my mother-in-law in check was like a circus act, and my aunties are gossips to their cores. Once during a family barbecue, Talia spilled cola on my white dress, and Tom accidentally poured his water over her head while talking to sister-in-law as they walked past. It was like a Cold War. And as of right now, we finally seem to be winning. I got a message saying that Talia coming to my weddings was comparable to Camilla going to Diana and Charles's wedding, and now that I look back at it, it kind of was. Only Talia will always be the ex. Thank you for all your support. Well, OP, good for you. Just keep the toxicity out. It is unwarranted. Here's wishing you and your husband the best, OP. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. Mood booster. You don't sound sick to me. I am not an American. I used to work as a researcher in an inbound call center. I loved the work, and the company was fantastic when I started. But after 4 years, they got bought up by a big international corporation, pretty standard hack and corp. Buy up a profitable company, strip it of all assets, cut costs, quality, make good money until our well-deserved fantastic reputation is destroyed, then sell off and move on. Within weeks, the company went from being fantastic to work for to just another crappy, tense work environment where the bosses take advantage of the employees. One quick example of how badly they nerfed the bonus structure. One particular bonus went from being able to earn up to $1,000 extra in 3 days to a single $50 Boston Pizza gift card. Previously, all employees got paid varying bonuses under this scheme. But in the new system, only one person gets the gift card, and they had the nerve to get mad at us when the new slap-in-the-face bonus failed to motivate anyone. I was good at my job, and not to brag, but I was the most productive employee on the floor. We were given 15 paid time-off days to use every year, which according to our employment contracts and company handbook, were to be used for sick days, mental health days, and other personal reasons. No explanation was ever asked for. Use them as and when you will. I always made sure to use up all my paid time off by the end of the year as it didn't bank. Previous management encouraged us to do so, and also there was no bonus for not using it. I followed the company rules, gave plenty of notice, and only left one team dangling with no notice as I got seriously ill that time. The new management takes over, and right away they start trying to intimidate us into not taking paid time off. I hear a lot of this from my fellow employees, how when they call in the supervisors have started grilling them, challenging them, saying they don't sound sick, etc. A lot of intimidation and bullying. So by the time I needed to use paid time off day, I'm ready. I call in one day and tell them I won't be in tomorrow. They want to know why. So I tell them I'm not feeling well. Their voice grows immediately cold and they get a rude tone. You don't sound sick to me. Being a smartass, I said. Not even doctors try to diagnose illnesses over the phone, but they kept trying to push me. Can you come in the afternoon? You don't sound sick. You've been using a lot of sick days, way more than other employees. I got tired of being treated like a criminal for obeying the rules, so I got a recording app for my phone. I live in a one-party consent area, so it's perfectly legal to record phone calls. Next time I felt sick, I called into work. Now they always began every call with a disclaimer. Thank you for calling X company. For your information, this call will be monitored or recorded for quality purposes. I say hello, give them my name, and say, by the way, just so you know, on my end, this call may be monitored or recorded for quality purposes because I am recording the call, and I think it's only fair to let them know. The supervisor gives a perfunctory laugh and says, So why are you calling in sick? You don't sound sick to me. I'll put you down as sick for the morning, but you'll be in for the afternoon. I inform them that, no, I am calling for at least 1 day and will update if I don't feel better. She says, no, I'll put you down for half a day. You can call in again if you don't feel better. Once again, I say no, restate my position, and tell them that is that. She gets really pissy and starts insinuating that this might cause me to lose my job. Why do you take so much pay time off than the other employees? I take what my employment contract says I am entitled to. No more, no less. Well, you should have better team spirit. We'll have to review this with HR. Threatening tone. Classic bullying. Playbook. I'm off the next day. Come in for my following shift. Go see HR. I sit down at Art's desk in HR. He's very much a corporate HR lab dog. He starts going on about how they're going to have to review my employment contract and consider whether or not going forward I am a good fit at XC Corp. Now, in case I seem too calm in this scenario, bear in mind that while I do prefer to remain at X for the time being, I do not care if they want to fire me. I'm very good at my job. I have had several job offers from competing companies, so the threat of being fired does not faze me. While Art is berating me, I take out my phone and start playing the recording I made when calling in sick. Art stops, starts to get annoyed, then realizing he's listening to a recording of an employee verbally berating and intimidating a worker for exercising their contractual legal rights. He excuses himself and is gone for about 10 minutes before returning, visibly angry, but restrained. He tried to dress me down, scare me, intimidate me into thinking I had violated the law with an illegal recording. I told that working as I did as a professional researcher, I had to no surprise done my research, and single-party consent is all that was required. He shifted gears, starting saying the recording didn't count because the supervisor thought I was joking. I wasn't, but she thought you were, and she was wrong. So, it doesn't really matter what she thought. Art, I told her the truth. She made a mistake, and recording my own phone conversations is 100% legal and admissible. Art leaves and returns a few minutes later, ever more red-faced. You can go back to your desk. I did as instructed, and that was all I ever heard again about using my pay time off. Whenever I called in from then on, they were always very precise and professional. Their tone was as cold as a politician's promise, but that was a lot better than the bullying from before. Well, OP, you were just being upfront and honest. If they didn't believe you, well, that's on them. Thanks for sharing, OP, and that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.